So, are you waiting for your big break on YouTube? Have you been plugging away for a while and you're just waiting for that big break? Well, I feel ya. I do. Because I waited for 1 year and 11 months to get my first really big break on YouTube. So, today I'm going to talk about that journey and talk about what I've learned along the way, talk about some surprises, and talk about where I go from here. So I'm sure even some of my regular viewers have a YouTube channel of their own, so maybe they'd be interested in this, but hopefully this is going to reach a wider audience and people will tune in just to find out what happens when your channel blows up. So the first thing is things did not happen the way I expected them to at all, and I'll describe that in a few minutes. Second of all, quitting was never an option for me. It was never an option. Even if my channel had stayed really small, I would have continued doing videos. I was in it for the long haul. So maybe persistence does pay off in the long run. And third, when my channel finally did take off, it really took me by surprise. It really did. Like it never happens when you think it's going to happen. Like you can't predict which video you do is going to be the one that makes the difference. So let me give you a little backstory as to the beginnings of the channel. I have over 200 videos on the channel now. Now, not all of those are long form videos. I have some live streams on there, and I also have a bunch of shorts. So for a while, I was doing a lot of shorts just to kind of increase my visibility, to gain subscribers. It helped to some degree. And actually, for a while, for a few months of doing shorts, that was where I saw the most traction. But in the long run, that isn't what gave me my success. In fact, I had already backed off shorts by the time that my channel took off. So let me go back to the very beginning. I started this channel in June of 2022. It is now July of 2024. My channel took off in the beginning of May of this year, and I was monetized on May 16th. Now, this is not a video. I'm not going to go into the monetization as far as like what I earned. I will probably do that in about a month or so. I will do another video about like what I earned in the first 3 months on YouTube. So this isn't talking about numbers at this point, except for subscriber numbers. But I was monetized on May 16th. The irony of that is that I reached 1,000 subscribers at the end of April, but I had not gotten enough watch hours by that time. So I had to get enough watch hours, and that's when my channel really exploded the beginning of May. That's when I got tons of watch hours and I was able to be monetized. So I went from, at the time that my channel was starting to gain traction, I was at about 1,100 subscribers. In 2 months, I have gone up to close to 20,000 subscribers. It's certainly not the fastest anyone has grown on YouTube. I know people who have gotten 20,000 or more subscribers in like a week. But 2 months was very fast in my estimation. I never thought that once I gained traction that it would go that fast. And of course I knew, having been on YouTube a long time, I knew that eventually it'd taper off, and it did, and it has, and it's, gone down from that. But it's still doing, a kind of a consistent amount every day right now. So when I started the channel, my goal, as most people's goal might be, was to get monetized within a year. And I thought that was allowing plenty of time to get monetized. Boy, was I wrong. 1 year into it, I was only at about, I think, around 600 subscribers. I think that's where I was at about a year into it. So that was very disheartening. Now looking back on it, I'm amazed I stayed so motivated and stayed, committed and dedicated to doing this. Because when I think about the actual numbers and how nothing was moving, it really was discouraging at the very least. But, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos from people that were saying, you know what, don't give up. And of course, I wasn't going to give up anyway. This was kind of everything to me. This was my passion, my, hobby, my hope for the future. It was all things into one. So I wasn't going to give up, but it really helped to watch some motivational videos. And so I want to share my own take on that right now and say, if you have a channel that's struggling out there, figure out ways to improve it, of course. But in addition, don't give up. Just be persistent. Be persistent. Improve things in your skills and your knowledge a little at a time, but be persistent. Quitting is not an option, that's my motto. Quitting is not an option. So if you say that to yourself, eventually I really believe that most people will succeed on this platform. I really believe that. It does take a lot of dedication. But if you're doing something that's worthwhile on some level, you will grow. It just may not happen the way you think it's going to happen. So don't give up. Don't give up. I never was in danger of giving up, but I had about 3 or 4 times that I was so discouraged. I was so incredibly discouraged. And it was like torture to have to come up with a video, make a video, edit the video, post the video, wait for the results, and then get discouraged all over again. That's how I went through that about 3 or 4 times. And let me say something else about the process, which I don't see enough people talking about on YouTube, is that when you first start a channel, unless you blow up immediately or in the first month or two, what happens is a few months in, I think when the algorithm finally gets an idea of what your channel's about, it starts pushing some of your videos out, and it's kind of a test run. And I got so excited when that happened. It happened about 4 months into my channel, where all of a sudden YouTube was like pushing out, I think it was 4 videos in a row, and I was getting 2,000 views or 4,000 views or whatever. And I was so excited because I hadn't gotten more than probably 300 or 400 views on a video before then. Well, that was the first real gut punch, because what happened is after about 4 videos, they started the impressions, you know what impressions are. They started going down and down and down. And so the views went down and down because they weren't pushing it out anymore. And that was so discouraging. And they did the same thing about 12 months later to me. So 4 months into my channel, they did a push out, and I did gain, that's when I got up to close to 400 subscribers. Then about a year later, they did another push out of 2 or 3 videos. And this time I wasn't going to fall for it, because I thought, yeah, they're just doing this thing once in a while where they push out a few videos. It helps gain subscribers, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And then that is exactly what happened. Back in last October, I had 2 or 3 videos that got pushed out. One got, I think, up to 4,000 something views. And I didn't get excited this time like the year before. I really didn't. I had learned. And so I looked at it cautiously, and I was, of course, a part of me was optimistic, but basically I was like, yeah, you're playing with me again, aren't you, YouTube? You're playing with me. And yeah, they kind of were, because then it kind of crashed and burned again. And the first of this year, in January of 2024, I was sitting at about, I guess, between about high 800s subscribers to the mid 90s subscribers for months. January, February, March, April. It was grim. And I'd say my lowest point was probably in January or February, where I just thought, that's great. I've had 2 opportunities where they pushed out my videos. Apparently they didn't do well enough. And so they didn't, they just reined everything back in. They turned off the spigot. And so I'm back to nothing. So I'm saying this because some of you may have had this experience, or you might have this experience. And I never saw many videos, if any, talking about this, that you kind of have these initial pushes of videos, but then they throttle you back. And so that surprised me, because I was not prepared for that. So I'm telling you now that does happen. It doesn't mean your channel's not going to make it eventually, apparently. It just means that, it didn't make it that time. That wasn't, that might have been my time last fall and it just didn't work out. So fast forward now to April of this year, and I hit 1,000 subscribers, I believe, on April 26th. And I was so excited because, that's your first big milestone. Of course you get excited. Now, I knew I was nowhere near the watch hours I needed. I think I only had about 2,200 watch hours, and you need 4,000. So I wasn't super excited yet because I thought, I'm going to be lucky to get monetized by Christmas. Like, that's how discouraged I was. It was, like I said, it was amazing I was able to make videos because I was so disheartened much of the time. So, like I said, then things just miraculously took off in May. If you ask me why they took off, I will tell you, I don't know. I don't know. The right topic hit the right time with the algorithm, and honestly, a lot of it was just dumb luck. A lot of it was dumb luck. People say that, oh, if you get better at this and that and the other thing. I'm going to be really honest with you now. I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can be. I'm only basing this on my own experience. I'm not basing it on any other channel. So I'm just saying from my own experience, I didn't get any better at thumbnails or titles or anything like that. Gradually over the almost 2 years I did, but I didn't get great at it. And when I looked at my watch time of my biggest video to date, it's not impressive. So people that tell you that it's all about watch time and it's all about, how good your thumbnails and titles are, I'm not saying that there's nothing to that. There is. I'd say you do the best you can, but the rest is just luck. It's just luck. The algorithm somehow identifies your video as one to just open up the floodgates, and it does that. And that's what happened to the video that I had, the one video I had that went mega viral. And after that, you just get pushed out. You do get pushed out more. Although now I'm back to getting, I would say, an average of 3,000 to 5,000 views on a video. So I'm back down to much lower numbers. My biggest video has, I believe now, close to 300,000 views. And I have another one that has over 100,000 views. I have a couple that are around 40, 50,000 views. But that is not consistent. You don't just continue like that after you hit it big. That's the other thing I want to say. And I'm not saying that to discourage you. I don't want anybody to be discouraged. I'm realistic about it. I'm honest about it. I'm open about it. I recognize that part of what led to my channel blowing up was partly me, but it was also partly YouTube. And it was partly just luck. And the problem with that is that's going to vary over time. It's going to go down a little bit. It may go up again. I may have another big video, or two, hopefully this year, but I might not. And that's just the reality of YouTube. So the other thing that I didn't really get from people who had, blown up or had big channels is I didn't get the idea that once they all of a sudden had a viral video or two, that everything was like roses after that. It's not necessarily. It can be for some channels, but not necessarily for others. So that's another thing. So let me share with you some other thoughts about this. I'm going to get to the what I wasn't prepared for in a minute, but let me talk about something else first. When I first started with YouTube, there were a couple of other creators that were doing, they weren't doing exactly the same kind of video I was, but they were older women and they were doing videos and they had like overnight success. Like their first video went viral. I was so envious of that. And I was jealous of that. And I thought, why is it their video gets pushed, their very first video? So it's not like they had any track record or anything. Just dumb luck. Now, in that case, it is dumb luck. I really believe that. That their first video just massively gets pushed out. And I waited for at least 4 months to even have a decent video. And I was so bummed out about that. And for a long time, I thought, why couldn't I have just been an overnight success? That would be so much easier. But you know what? I followed those channels, and I followed other channels that has similar trajectory. And I realized there was a downside to being an overnight success. If you start out and your very first video on YouTube goes viral, you got a tough act to follow there. You do. You have a tough act to follow. And it's not going to be easy. And you don't have any catalog of videos. You don't have a library of videos that other people can watch when they like that video. So you're really at a disadvantage in some ways when your first video blows up. Do you get monetized immediately? Yeah, pretty fast, but that doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And I saw a couple of those creators really struggle afterwards, because then they were getting like 1,000 views a video again, and they were wondering what happened. So I am glad that didn't happen to me in retrospect. I'm glad I had to put in time in the trenches. Now, I would wish it had been a little less time. Honestly, I wish I'd gone maybe a year and then had some, big success. But that's fine. At least it did finally happen. But I am glad that I built up a library of videos, because now when people subscribe and they like my channel, they watch a bunch of videos, which is exactly what YouTube wants them to do. When YouTube, they want to keep people on the platform. That's their whole business model. Keep people on the YouTube platform watching videos. So if you do a good video and people like your video, or they like you, whatever, they're going to watch hopefully several more of your videos. Well, if you start out and you only have one video or even a couple of videos, and then what more are they going to watch? They're going to be waiting for the next video, but they don't have anything to watch right then. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I put the time and energy into building the channel, and then it became successful, because then it ended up helping me in the long run. So that's a big thought I have about that. So, while it may be great to be an overnight success in some ways, I still think it's better if it takes at least a certain amount of time, even a few months, where at least you have enough videos on there that people can watch. So what are the things I was surprised about when my channel blew up? Well, several things, actually. The first thing was just the sheer volume of views that was coming in, and the sheer volume of subscribers that was just pouring in. I mean, it felt wonderful, but it also felt very surreal. Like it just, when you don't have that for so long and then you have it, it's just like, what? What is this? And of course, along with that came a sheer volume of comments. And while most of the comments have been overwhelmingly positive, I'm pretty sure that most channels will agree with me that you get a certain amount of negative comments. You get trolls, you get people that are just critical for no reason, whatever. You get them. And it's a shock when your channel blows up and you get, more than you want of those. Let's put it that way. Again, they're not the majority. They're a small minority. But you get enough that it really does shake you up. Because I personally do not understand the whole troll mentality. I never have. I've been on YouTube as far as a viewer since 2010. I have subscribed to probably over 100 channels in that time. I watch a lot of channels on a regular basis. I have never in my life left a negative comment on someone else's channel. Never. If I don't have anything good to say, then I just don't say anything at all. To me, that's just courtesy. But apparently, I don't think like these people. So if the troll thing bothers you and you become successful, buckle up. It's a ride. It is a ride, let me tell you. And my best advice, because I do this myself, is I just block and delete their comment. In other words, it's a hide user from channel thing. And then I'm done with them. And if they want to take the time to use another, account to troll me again, they'll just get blocked and deleted again. I don't give it a lot of energy, but I think it's important to talk about that. That's a big shock when you first, your channel gets big, is that you have to deal with that. So that's another thing I didn't really expect. And I would say the last thing that I really didn't expect, I mean, I knew it, intellectually, but I didn't really expect it, was that once you have successful videos, there's a lot of internal pressure to create good videos, which is a good thing actually, but there's a lot of stress involved in the idea of what's going to be the next big video. Like, what do I have to do to make another big video? That's a lot of stress and it's a lot of pressure, and I didn't really expect it, because back in the days when I wasn't monetized, I didn't feel that kind of pressure. My attitude was, well, if people don't like this video, not many of them are going to see it anyway. So there was like a happy side to that. Now it's like, I really want this to succeed, because now I'm actually earning, part-time income from this, and I'd like a lot of people to see this. So there's that, and then there's just the, you get a lot more emotionally tied to your own analytics, which again, did not expect. I mean, I used to always watch like my subscriber count and view count and stuff, but now I look at the more intricate analytics more, because, looking at the watch time or the click-through rate or things like that. And by the way, I didn't say this earlier in the video, but I do think the click-through rate is important, because I have noticed my bigger videos, and actually most of my videos now, have a pretty healthy, a good click-through rate. But I think if you have a really low click-through rate, it's really hard to get pushed out there more. So I will say that is one analytic or metric that I do think plays a part in the impressions that YouTube does. About 2.5 months in to my channel, blowing up, what am I dealing with now? Well, the stress of coming up with good content. It's, I know, I map things out for weeks ahead or even a couple of months ahead, but then there's always last minute changes depending on something maybe that just happened or something that made me think about something or whatever. So I do make alterations along the way. But there is that stress that has increased, and I'm still just trying to deal with it. I know eventually I'll settle into it, that I'll settle into a better way of dealing with all of the newness of this. It's like anything in life, when something really good happens, something really wonderful that you really wanted to happen, and you're so happy it happened, there's still these, and I wouldn't call them negative, but I would say there's these problematic consequences that come with it. And you have to learn to deal with those. And so I'm still in that process of adjustment. I would say I'm in an adjustment phase. And hopefully within another 3 months, that will pass and I'll be, in a different mentality about it. I still feel the same as I did before my channel blew up, which is that quitting is not an option. I will do this even if I'm not making a lot of money. I will still continue to do this. That's just what I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the process of doing it. I enjoy filming. I enjoy editing. I enjoy, planning things out. It's a very creative type of endeavor. And if you have your own channel, you know this by now. It is a very creative thing. And so I can't think of anything better to do with my life at the age of 69, when I'm already retired basically, than do this. Because as long as my brain is working and my body is functional, I can do this. So I'm hoping to do this for many years to come. We'll just see. So that's my journey to success. I say success in quotes. It's not really success yet, but it's the first step in success. You have to get monetized. You have to get seen. You have to, get bigger to get to other stages. So that's some of the things I wanted to share about the journey today. Like I said, in a month or two, I will share my analytics and my revenue from the first 3 months, so you guys know what that looks like. I will give you a teaser about that. I made a lot more in my first full month on YouTube than I ever expected to make. But that's because my channel went from 10 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, just like that. So I expected to grow much more slowly. And of course, the downside of going that fast, that quick, again, is that it always kind of throttles back. So I'm dealing with that. Anyway, until next time, Be well, be kind, keep moving forward, and take care. Bye.